Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. And today, my friends, we're here with Total War Warhammer 3. Yes, the wait is finally over. And from here on out, no longer will we have to wait in the shadows. There's going to be a constant flow of Total War Warhammer 3 content over the course of the next couple weeks, all the way up until launch. So fasten them seatbelts and get ready to go. Now, as far as this video, we're going to be taking a look at big campaign changes. So there's a multitude of new features, and we're going to be focusing on my favorite features from the new campaign so far, and also talking about some basic quality of life improvements. So I think that's it, man. Let's do it. Let's take a look at these features. All right, so let us begin with the first big change, which is going to be pertaining to diplomacy. So for those of you guys who played Total War 3 Kingdoms, some of this might look very familiar, but for anyone coming from Total War Warhammer 2, where essentially when you're doing diplomacy in the beginning or later stages of a campaign, you kind of had to just go through every single option. You'd have to click on these different factions. Are they going to accept this? You have to try this, non-aggression, just spam it till you get what you want. And it was a relatively tedious process, but now we do have the quick deal option, which is incredibly nice. So basically you click this bad boy, and it's going to be giving you the likelihood of success of doing diplomatic actions with these different factions. So the Greylings and the Bjornlings here are very likely to be accepting the kind of basic options here. And you can see this is moderate with the Crimson Skull. Seducers of Slaanesh is becoming low, and it gets worse and worse as we do go down. So let's go ahead and show you guys. So if we go over to the Greylings, you can also see the different options. So we already have a non-aggression pact with these guys, or no, we don't. That is the first offer here. But if we want to add military axis here, you can also see that we are going to be able to get that. Now, something else that's really cool is the balancing feature. So you see here, we have a positive ratio as it pertains to this exchange. So in Total War Warhammer 2, you could ask for a little bit of money in a situation like this. Granted, you wouldn't know, so it was mostly trial and error. You would start very high up and try and get 300 gold or 2,000, 1,700, whatever. But now you actually have the balancing option. So I can click balance offer, and my opponent here, or my ally, I should say, well, it's chaos. He's probably an opponent, but nonetheless, he's going to be giving me 469 gold with this. So this is the balance offer deal. And there are other features as well here in the trade that you're probably seeing, like exchange settlements. So you have the opportunity to exchange settlements with people, which is very cool. I'll show you that a little bit later on, as well as the threat mechanic. So the threat mechanic allows you to throw your weight around your strength rank to get what you want. Granted, it does come at a big cost because it hurts your reliability. It's treachery, it's some shady business. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and propose the offer. They accept, we get the money, and life is good. So those are the big trade updates. Also, with quick diplomacy, you do have the option of sorting by the different type of agreement you're trying to get. So for example, if you're looking to see who will accept the non-aggression pact, you can click that. You can click military access, defensive alliance, military alliance, or becoming a vassal as well. So you do have the option to sort and see what the likelihood of these different factions is of accepting those various agreements. The next feature we're going to be taking a look at here is the new balance of power bar on the open map. So here we have the Big Chungus, our mighty demon prince, and taking a look over here at Felman, we can right click on his army, not right click, but hover our mouse over him, and we are going to be seeing the balance of power for the battle. So before you go and engage in these fights, you are going to be able to get a little bit more of an assessment of how the battle will go in terms of auto-resolve. Obviously, this isn't always accurate, right? Some armies are going to be very good against yours, so take it with a grain of salt, but generally, if you are looking to play mostly auto-resolve, you can mouse over the enemy army here, and you will get an idea of how that engagement would go by looking at the balance of power bar here for Felman Ingerson. Yeah, certainly quite cool. So something else to point out as it pertains to the actual balance of power bar in the open field combat. It actually doesn't show you when you're attacking cities, so just a little bit of a caveat there. All right, so the next feature we shall take a look at here today is going to be the Outpost feature. And this one's really cool because it allows you to recruit units from different factions. So for example, if you're playing as the Demons of Chaos here, I can go up to Norska, I can set up an outpost in their territory, and then I will be able to actually recruit units from their roster. Berserkers, Marauders. From my testing, it does cap at tier 3 units, so you're not able to get like the big massive units like Mammoths and things like that, but let's say you're playing like Bretonnia, for example, and you got some peasant archers, which are cool, but you want some Sigmarite handgunners, right? Well, if you have an outpost in the Empire, you're going to be able to recruit that. So let's go ahead and show you guys the process. So firstly, you have to begin by getting a military or a defensive alliance. So we have a military alliance here. He doesn't really want it, doesn't give me the option to propose the offer, but using our new balance offer, it'll tell us how much money we would have to pay. So if it is on the table, it will be open. So if you're able to bribe them, essentially. So yeah, we like that. It's fine. We have like 20,000 gold, whatever. Let's go ahead and get this party started. So we're going to propose this, and boom. We have a military alliance, and now what we can do is back out of here, and when you go to them in the diplomacy screen, you can see the outpost available option is now here with our ally options, which is very cool. So we'll click that, and to construct an outpost, it's going to be taking 3 turns to finish. It will be in the allied settlement right here where we're doing it. and let's construct it. Boom. So it's going to be in the Grayling Moot here, and you can move it to another settlement of theirs, or you can demolish it. And I believe the recruitment is like localized to that region, so whatever like their capital region is typically where you're going to want to do it. But again, further testing is required. And we're just like scratching the surface of some of these new features today. There's so many other things in the campaign that I've yet to discover. It's just wild, but these are the ones that really caught my eye. So for now, we're going to keep it there. And this opens up other cool things as well. So we can request armies. And essentially what we do with this is we like take over that army and get to control their army for a period of time. This costs allegiance points, and allegiance points are improved over time. So you can see here, it says it slowly increases over time and can be increased by completing missions. So the longer you have an alliance with someone, the more you're kind of staying honest in that good old relationship, your allegiance will improve, or you can do it a little bit more quickly by doing allied missions. Now, I don't have any available, but as soon as one pops up, I will show you. But the allied mission, typically they'll be like, hey, go take out this lord or go raise this settlement. And if you do that, it'll usually give you between like 10 or 20 allegiance, which you can get going there. Now, as far as recruiting units goes, we'll show you as soon as this gets set up. Of course, you have new options here with setting targets. It's very similar to how it was before, but again, the UI is a little bit cleaner and it's a much easier experience. So we'll see you back as soon as we can get the outpost set up and recruit all those cool units. All right, so the outpost has indeed finished at the Grayling Moot, and let's look at all the glory that comes with it. So firstly, we can double click this, and you can see we have a couple options. Firstly, if we look at our allegiance, our passive income of allegiance is going to be 2 per turn. So take note of that as we look. And again, there are other variables that can increase that. And we now have access to an allied mission. So they want us to defeat the army of Theodric Gausser here. So if we do that, we get 13 allegiance and turns remaining to accept. So we have 1 turn, we can click here, and you can accept the mission. It doesn't appear that there's any like time frame on that. It's going to be hard to actually catch him because he's always running around, but you can accept it and then hunt him down at your convenience, which is quite cool. So we will accept that, which is great. And yeah, feeling good about the allied mission. Now we have the reward. It doesn't look like there's any actual timer, so we're just going to keep that in the back of our pocket. We will eventually go down to the Empire of Man here in this campaign and go after them. So now for the outpost. So starting at the basic outpost, we do have the level 1 outpost. So this provides allied recruitment of a selection of units from the faction's local recruitment. So how this works is we have it at the Grayling Moot. So that's kind of cool, right? If they have a barracks there or the tech to get the berserkers, we can recruit whatever they can recruit locally. An allied recruitment at this point is expensive outside of friendly territory. So for example, if I were out of in hostile territory, it wouldn't be quite as like efficient. It would be more expensive. And we also get casualty replenishment if our army is in that region. Now, if you upgrade it to tier 2, you get allied recruitment of a selection of units from the faction's global recruitment. So that's from their whole empire, right? So let's say you're allied with the empire and they can recruit Knights of the Blazing Sun in a different territory, for example. Well, then it would be opening up that option for you. At tier 3, it provides allied recruitment of a selection of units from global. The recruitment costs outside of friendly territories cheaper, and you also get casualty replenishment a little bit cheaper as well. So it's pretty neat for sure. We do also have the option to request the army. So you can also click on the army here. So if we scroll down, I'm going to show you this real quick. We are over at Torvard, Southbane. So if we wanted to request his army, there's a hotkey for it right here, but it does require 54 allegiance, which, you know, over the course of a campaign, you're going to be getting like several hundred allegiance with some of these factions. So it's really not that difficult. Now, the last thing to show you here for the outpost is going to be recruitment. So we click at the Grayling Moot here, and we can go ahead and upgrade that. That is totally fine. We can look at settlement details as well as outpost details just to get a little bit of an idea of what recruitment they have. And of course, you can look around. Now, going to our own recruitment pool here with our Lord Big Chungus, you can see we have the recruitment of our own units. We have the Plague Toads, we have the Beast of Nurgle, but we also have the allied recruitment. So we can go here and recruit either Berserkers or Marauders, which is really cool. Now, not terribly useful for what we're doing, because again, we have units that are probably better, but there are, you know, options. For example, if you're playing a faction that doesn't have access to certain types of units, like Nurgle doesn't necessarily have the best range stuff with how we're playing our Demon Prince. In this campaign, however, I'm going to be able to get some Zine stuff if I want to, but a more stark example of this would be if you're playing the Vampire Counts and you make friends with the Greenskins and suddenly you're able to get some artillery, like get some Doomdiver catapults, you get rock lobbers, or you can be friends with Chaos and eventually get some, you know, well, or whatever. You can get the lower tier units. You can't get like the super high tier ones. I've done some testing in later campaign and it seems you can't get the super elite ones, but you can get up to tier 3 units, which is pretty darn good. So yeah, the outpost system is really damn cool, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's implemented. I kind of wanted to make friends with some Skaven and get like try and see if I could get some Poison Wind Mortars or like some Jezzails in my army, and yeah, get like Skaven weapons teams backed up by like Nurgle units. I mean, there's so much cool potential with this. Anyways, that is the Outpost system, and yeah, now on to the next feature. All right, so now we're going to be taking a look at exchanging settlements. So how you do this is you go into diplomacy with pretty much anyone that is willing, of course, but it's going to be relatively tough at this point in the campaign, so I'm just going to more or less show you guys like the tooltip and how to do it. So here you have the option to trade settlement. So this can either be like, hey, I'll trade you the Ice Drake Fjord for the Pack Ice Bay, or you can do it more like, okay, I'll give you a defensive alliance, but then you need to give me Pack Ice Bay as well for this. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be super great, but if we were just massively stronger or like it's a very weak faction, you certainly can throw your weight around in the later stages of the campaign. I found that if you're a faction that has a lot of diplomatic relations and kind of plays that game, somebody's like in the 200 point, you can like trade settlements and do these type of things very easily, or at least it depends on the faction you're playing. Everybody's a little bit different, but you can now trade settlements, which is really nice. So for example, if there was a settlement I didn't really care about, so let's say here I were to go trade settlement, the Ice Drake Fjord I obviously do want here, but we're going to go ahead and pick that one, and then I could get something out of it. So I could do bounce offer and be like, hey, I have this random settlement on the corner of the world. And this happens all the time, right? When you're like on a far mission, well, you can take it and then use it as a trading tool. So I can give the Ice Drake Fjord and get like 3,000 gold plus a defensive alliance. So it gives you a lot of utility, and that's quite nice. I can't tell you how many times I've had like a single random base, in the middle of a province owned by an ally or something that I just want to like put to some use. Well, now I can trade it for something useful, which is nice. And also you can do the same thing the other way. If your opponent really wants something, you can ask for one of their settlements. And I've been able to get settlements from AI and, multitude of occasions here. But there it is. That is trading settlements. Certainly a neat new tool. Something else to talk about before we move on is actually the ability to threaten trespassers. So you guys remember, obviously, in Warhammer 2, you'd be in a campaign, and this happens to me all the time. I'd be playing as the Empire, and suddenly just a fat, erect dwarf army would appear in my lands and start raiding my shit for the rest of the campaign. Well, it's certainly quite annoying. Now, you can actually deal with that by, in this case, this gentleman is at war with me, but if I did have an ally raiding in my region, let's say here that Torvald got a little bit excited, went up to the Doomkeep, started to raid me, well, you can actually go to their army, and right above the banner, you'll notice there's a bunch of different UI. In this case, this is telling me that this guy is an allied quest, so it's one of my quests to go take out to get allegiance from my ally. But there would be another option if you were my ally where I could tell him to leave my territories. Then most of the time the AI will leave when you do that if you're not at war with them, but sometimes they don't. And if they don't leave your territories after you warn them, it gives you the option to declare war on that faction with no diplomatic penalties, regardless of the circumstances. So even if it's an ally, for example, who's raiding you and they don't leave, well, then you can declare war on them, and it's not going to count towards your reliability, and it won't count as treachery, which I think is very neat. So another big change is the fusing system. So what you can do with your items, so taking a look here at the new item interface, we have the magical items, which you can sort by category, equipable, non-equipable, salvageable, etc., etc. You can also look by name here, kind of interesting. So it looks like it's alphabetical order. And you have your ancillaries as well. So it pulls from your global pool, and it makes it much easier to kind of get everything going here with the new UI. So in this case, what you can actually do is, if we have our ancillaries, for example, let's say there's somebody we don't really care for, we're going more for Nurgle here in this one. So we are going to take the Slaneshi Zealot, not click on that, and click on this, and then salvage. What this does is it actually gives you money, which is kind of cool. Because, in a turn 70, 80, 100 campaign, you're going to have so much extra stuff that's just kind of in the way. So it's a nice way of cleaning up the old toolbox here and also getting a reward for it. Now, with magical items, you have the option to fuse. So how this works is you take two items that are of the same category as well as the same quality, and you can fuse them to go up to the next tier. In this case, I don't have any of that type, but if we had two armors, what you do is you click armor, and you fuse, and it would then upgrade to a blue armor. So for example, you might be able to get like a Helm of Discord. If you have two arcane items, it's going to be going from obviously to gray to blue or gray to green to blue to purple for the more epic items, as they say. Purple's always kind of, I wonder who the first person to really think of like, okay, purple's going to be the epic color, but really it just kind of has that feeling to it. But of course, you can combine the two items and go up to the next tier. So it's a really cool system. I mean, in Warhammer 2, there would be so many situations where you'd have like a million useless items, but now you can actually like craft up. Obviously, some factions in Warhammer 2 had some crafting and the salvaging tool, but now it is general across the board here, and you can treat yourself and feast like the heathen kings of old. So the last thing we're going to be looking at here today is the new Threaten feature. So Threaten is really a way to throw around your weight. And this is something that I would only really use in like a desperate circumstance, or if it's something you really need over the course of the campaign. What you can do, let's go to Quick Deal, see who's in the neighborhood. And we want to find someone that's quite a bit weaker than us. So let's go look at these guys. His strength rank is 33, 8, 15, oracles, and crimson 55. So we can bully some core knights. I'm sure they'll love that. So we click here. Obviously, they don't really like us, right? We want military access. Can you be quiet, please? Thank you. And non-aggression pact, military access, and we have the option to now threaten. So threatening is an interesting one because we have strength rank 5 against 55. So it's likely to work. But the downside being is if we threaten and they do not feel threatened by us and they say no, like screw you, we actually go to war with them and it tanks your reliability to nothing. Now, if we threaten and it succeeds, we get what we want, but it still tanks your reliability. So there's going to be some factions in the game that just straight up have like no allies, right? Like if you're playing like probably Khorne, for example, or some of these demon factions, you're not going to be really playing with diplomacy too much outside of maybe a couple of Haggard Norskins nearby. So you don't really care, right? You're already at war with everyone here with the Demons of Chaos. Like what's adding a little bit more, less reliability, right? So you can use the threat mechanic just perpetually and like they're just going to be like scared of you. So they'll give you, that's one way to force diplomacy if you're playing someone like Demons of Chaos, right? So let's threaten here, see if we can get this. So it's at negative 23 right now and let's give it a try. And they rejected it, so boom, our reliability is low. And you know, I should have known better than to try and reason with this guy. I mean, look at him over here. But still, that is one way to do it. But I guess we didn't have enough of a disparity between our strength ranks, or there were some other variables at play. So that is the threaten feature. Probably something I'll be using mainly when I'm playing like demons. If you're playing like human factions, I don't think it's going to be worth tanking your reliability because everyone's going to declare war on you, and it actually matters with those. But when you're playing like demons and you start at war with like everyone, I think this is a mechanic you might as well try and play around with and have some fun. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for joining. Hopefully this little breakdown was useful. Obviously there are so many other mechanics here in this campaign. I am just scratching the surface here in this video. Obviously I am going to be streaming at the same time as this. If you guys want to see, I'm going to be doing a full campaign here with the Demon Prince. Not full campaign, but as long as the embargo allows us to do. And we can take a look at all the features here, like the different rifts and collecting the souls, and we can touch upon the storyline a little bit more. But today's video was to be hyper-focused on the new features that really stood out to me and things I've been having quite a bit of fun with. Anyways, thank you so much for joining. We'll see you guys soon. Multiplayer action coming up relatively soon, as soon as I'm allowed to show you. It'll be, no, I don't know the exact date. My brain isn't working right now, so we'll figure it out. But it's coming soon. That's all you need to know, and it is going to be awesome. You guys will enjoy it. See you next time, and take care of yourselves.